He told her he was an investment banker. Turns out he was unemployed living in his mom's basement and took her money. From rock bottom. This is a true story. The names and some events have been changed to protect the identity of those involved. You are listening to From Rock Bottom. Subscribe to the channel and keep respect in the comments. Do you have an inspiring story of overcoming challenges? Send it to us by email.
I fell for a love scam. Yeah, me. The woman who always said she would never fall for anything like that. He told me he was an investment banker. Told me he had connections in Dubai, had worked in London, handled portfolios that made 7 figures a year. And I believed every word. Why? Because he looked the part. Because I wanted to believe it. And that's where I lost myself. Because the moment I started believing in him more than I believed in myself, that's when he won. He took my time, my trust, some of my money. Not everything, no. But enough to leave a scar. And the worst part, he was living in his mom's basement. No job, no plan, just lies. And me, I was too far in to see it coming. This is the story of how I got played by a man who said he was building empires, but couldn't even build a life of his own. It was just another one of those days. You know the kind. You're tired, a little frustrated with life, not exactly looking for anything, but also not exactly not looking. So, I opened the app. Just swiping. Right. Left. Judging people by their worst angles. And worst bios. There was no one real out there. And then, there he was. Perfect teeth. Beard trimmed just enough to look casual. Not forced, but also not sloppy. Photos in Santorini. In a sharp suit. Sipping something golden in what looked like a rooftop bar in Dubai. And I swear, I remember thinking, he's too good to be truth. But I still swiped right. And guess what? It matched. Instantly. Like he was waiting there. For me. The name? Let's call him Daniel. No emoji. No silly jokes. Just a clean line. Investor. Risk taker. Building a future worth sharing. And I don't know if it was the algorithm or the universe. But that night, he texted me. First. And not a hey or a what's up. Like others. He actually asked me something. Something intelligent. I don't even remember the exact question. But it made me stop and reply. And then I just couldn't stop. Because the way he wrote, it was direct, gentle, but not needy, flirty, but not vulgar, educated, but not arrogant. It was like he knew exactly the space between being too much and being enough. And in a world full of games, ghosting, tests, silence, Daniel was different. He made time. He wanted to talk. He never made me wait hours for answers. He didn't leave me on read. He made me laugh. He remembered what I said. He noticed the small things. And, yeah, I know what you're thinking. I bet you were younger. Innocent. No, not even close. I was 36. He was 31. And yes, that embarrassed me. More than it should have. Because I do look younger. I do take care of myself. And truth is, I do have my life together. I come from a family of doctors. Good people. Hardworking. We're not flashy.
We're not influencers. We're just solid. And I followed that same path. Med school, residency, hard years, long nights. But I built my life. I built my own name. I never depended on anyone. I had my own apartment, my own savings, my routines, my patience, and my peace. So, maybe that's why Daniel got to me. Because when someone like that looks at you, at a woman like me, and says he admires your mind, says he respects your discipline, says he's not intimidated by your independence, it does something to you, even when you swear it shouldn't. And he never played dumb, never asked what's that. When I talked about my work, he understood it. He had insights. He talked about financial cycles, hedge funds, private equity, global real estate, and I believed him. Why wouldn't I? I'd dated men with degrees before, engineers, lawyers, one even worked in policy, but no one ever spoke with the same fire, the same conviction, as Daniel. He told me he was working remotely now, managing a private portfolio for a discreet investor in Europe. Said the pandemic changed everything for him, that he hated the corporate world, and decided to build something for himself. And honestly, that made sense to me. A lot of people did the same. He said the world was going digital, said physical offices were a waste of time, said the real money was in tech mergers and offshore assets. And listen, I'm not naive. I've heard bullshit before. But with him, it sounded right. Everything sounded right. And the more we talked, the more I let myself relax. Because for the first time in years, I felt seen. I felt safe. So, when he said he wasn't into casual flings, when he said he wanted to build something real, I believed him. When he said I made him want to be better, I believed that too. It didn't feel like love bombing. It felt like connection. Pure, unexpected. And I started to do things I hadn't done in a long time. Like leave my phone on loud. Like check my messages at night. Like buy a new dress, just in case. Like plan a weekend off. And somewhere in that space, that soft, slow, blooming space of possibility, I let go. I opened the door. And I let Daniel in. I still remember that first date like it happened yesterday. He didn't ask for my address. Didn't suggest somewhere close to you. No fast food. No last-minute coffee. He just sent the name, a reservation at a restaurant I'd only seen on Instagram. One of those places where they don't even put prices on the menu, where the wine list is its own booklet, and where people whisper, not talk. I almost didn't go. I stood in front of the mirror for 20 minutes, questioning if I was overdressed, or underdressed, or just desperate. But when I got there, he was already waiting. Not glued to his phone, not looking around nervously. He was calm, composed, exactly like the photos, but better. He stood up the moment he saw me, smiled, kissed my cheek, pulled out the chair. I swear, I felt like I had stepped into someone else's life. He ordered wine like he'd been born into it, talked to the waiter with that respectful tone, not superior, not condescending, just comfortable, at ease. And he looked at me, really looked, not at my body, not past me, at me. The conversation flowed. He asked questions, listened, laughed at my sarcasm, got my dark jokes, told stories from his travels. And when he spoke, there was this sparkle in his eye like he was chasing something, building something, living already 10 steps ahead. He paid the full bill without blinking, left a generous tip, walked me to my car, didn't push, didn't pressure, just said, "I really enjoyed this. I'd love to see you again." And I floated home. Date 2? Even better. A jazz bar tucked inside an old bookstore. Candles. Red wine. Miles Davis playing in the background. He held my hand on the table gently, like it was a natural extension of the moment. Third date? He cooked. Yes, cooked. His apartment was minimal, clean, organized. A few plants. A record player. Books. Good art. Sure, it was rented only for that night. He wore a black apron over a t-shirt. Opened wine before I even sat. Pasta al limone. Fresh herbs from the balcony. He poured the sauce slowly and said something about flavors taking their time like relationships. I should have known. Right there. But I didn't. Because it felt perfect. And that perfection continued. He started sending me messages in the morning. "Good morning, sunshine. How did you sleep?" Then came the midday check-ins. "How's your day?" "Thinking of you." Then the nightly texts. "Dream of me." He sent me photos of sunsets from his runs, of breakfast bowls he made, of market finds, even his laptop screen sometimes grinding as he called it. And then the flowers. Big ones. Bright. Delivered to the clinic where I worked. No note. Just my name. I felt like I was living a movie. Like I had finally won. That maybe life did reward the ones who waited. Who were honest. Who didn't settle. But what I didn't see was that this was never casual. It wasn't romantic. It was a strategy. A blueprint. An investment. Because by week 3, he had me, emotionally, completely his. He made me laugh like I hadn't in years. He made me feel something again. He gave me everything I said I'd been missing. Presence, consistency, warmth, validation. And when someone gives you that, so much, so fast, you start to justify things. Like the fact that he always picked me up but never really let me go inside his place again. That his work seemed vague, like he had the right words, but no specifics. That he never answered phone calls when I was there. That he didn't really have social media, but always seemed to be online. And still, I ignored it. Because love does that. No, not love. Hope. Hope does that. It blinds you, wraps your doubts in golden ribbons, tells you you're overreacting, tells you to enjoy the moment. And honestly, I did. I wanted to believe. Because at 36, divorced from the chaos of career men and players and cold dinners alone, here was someone who called me beautiful when I hadn't even put makeup on. Someone who texted back in seconds, who remembered my favorite coffee order, who sent voice notes just to say goodnight. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the narrative began to shift. He started talking about money. Not directly, not asking, just hinting. A project he was closing. An investment round he was navigating. Some temporary liquidity issues, but nothing major. Not for someone like him. And I foolishly didn't question it. Because he never asked me for anything. Not at first. So I stayed in the dream. Floating. Safe. Smiling. But what I didn't realize is that I was already inside the web. And it was only a matter of time before it started closing in. I swear, the man could sell water to a drowning person. That's how good he was. He started a new conversation thread one night out of nowhere, between a picture of his dinner and a voice note saying he missed me. He just dropped it. "You know, babe, I'm making 10% this month." I blinked at the screen. "10% of what?" I replied. He laughed, sent another voice note. "You know, my investments. It's this new setup I've been building. Private clients, high yield, low exposure." I didn't know what half those words meant, and that's funny because, well, I'm a doctor, not an idiot, but he made it all sound so casual, so polished, so insider knowledge. He talked about compound interest like it was magic, said things like, "If you just park your money in the right place, you don't have to work forever." And then, "You could retire, babe. I'm serious. Travel, live, spend time with me." He kept going, about diversifying, about how the rich don't work for money, they make money work for them. It wasn't the first time I'd heard that kind of speech, but this time it hit differently, because it came with roses and kisses and whispered dreams at night. Because I wasn't just hearing about freedom, I was seeing it through him. The way he carried himself, that entrepreneur energy, the confidence, the vision. And honestly, I wanted it. I was tired of double shifts, tired of night shifts, tired of always being the responsible one, the strong one, the one who fixes things for everyone else. So when he said, "Let me invest for you just a portion, just try it," I didn't think twice. I actually felt excited, giddy, like I was part of something big. I sent him the money on a Thursday, $50,000. Yes, you heard right, $50,000. Just like that. And before you judge me, let me explain something. No, it wasn't all I had. I had more. I had assets. I had a financial cushion. But 50,000 isn't small change. It's still 50,000. And it came from my work, from my sweat, from years of saying no to things I wanted. So why? Why would I do something so reckless? Because he made it feel safe. He never asked me. He didn't pressure. He wasn't needy. He was strategic. He made it feel like I brought it up, like I was joining his team. He even said, "Don't give me all your money. Just test it. You'll see." And that's what I did. Looking back, I think that was the most dangerous part. Not the amount, not the transfer, but the fact that I felt smart doing it, like I was leveling up, becoming the kind of woman who lets go of control, who trusts, who builds wealth with her man. What a joke. What a well-packaged, hand-delivered, gold-wrapped lie. The next few weeks? Smooth. He sent me screenshots of charts, of dashboards, of returns. He said, "You're already up 15%. He talked about reinvesting, about long-term strategy, about compounding. Buzzwords, buzzwords, buzzwords. And I smiled, because finally I had a man and a plan. But here's the thing. Real returns, they don't move that fast. Real investors, they don't share their dashboards over WhatsApp. Real men don't play pretend with other people's savings. But I was already in it. Emotionally, deep. I told my best friend. She raised an eyebrow, said it sounded a little aggressive. But I defended him. I believed in him. I even said, "Worst case, I lose a little. But he's not like that. He wouldn't hurt me. Oh, how wrong I was. The thing is, after that first month, he really did it. He paid me $10,000. Just like that. No drama, no delay, no hesitation. He just said, "Told you I knew what I was doing." And I smiled like a kid on Christmas morning. I was floating. I was floating. I thought, see, I wasn't stupid. This is real. This works. This is how people get rich while the rest just work their lives away. And yeah, I told him to reinvest it. Of course I did. I said, "Let's go again." And he smiled with the confident, charming face, the one that said, "I got you." But then I went further. I did something bolder. I called my dad. I asked to borrow 20,000 more. And I told him the truth. Well, most of it. I said I was involved with someone smart. A financial genius, actually. And he was giving me access to investments that only insiders usually get. My dad was hesitant. But I'm his daughter. And I've always been the reliable one. The one who doesn't do wild things. The one who always had a plan. So, he sent me the money. And I sent it all to him. 50,000. Just like that. Gone from my hands. Into his world. The next few days, they were perfect. He was sweet. Engaged. He sent me screenshots of graphs, charts, percentages. Explained liquidity windows and emerging markets. He spoke my language. It felt legit. It felt real. But then, things started to shift. It was subtle. So subtle that I almost gaslit myself about it. He didn't text me good morning like before. Didn't send those voice notes with sleepy laughs. Didn't ask about my day. Didn't call me beautiful out of the blue. It went from baby, I miss you, to sorry, crazy day. From let's plan that trip to Greece, to markets are wild right now. I told myself, he's busy. He's stressed. This is our money he's handling. He's doing this for us. I waited for the end of the month.
That's when I'd get my next return, right? That's when he'd give me another 10, maybe even 20,000. That's when we'd celebrate again. But the end of the month came, and nothing happened. No payment, no update, not even a comment about it. I didn't want to seem pushy. So I waited. 1 day, 2, 3. Then I sent a simple message. "Hey love, just checking in. All good?" He replied the next day. "Yeah, super busy. Investments are locked for now. It's a liquidity cycle thing. I'll explain soon." And I just stared at the screen. Locked liquidity cycle. What did that even mean? I'm not clueless. I'm a doctor. I'm educated. I've been around professionals my whole life. But something about that message felt like a script. Still, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Because I liked him. A lot. And honestly, it wasn't about the money. That was the strangest part. The most confusing part. I wasn't panicking about the 50,000. I wasn't watching my accounts. I wasn't doing the math. I was just missing him. The way he used to speak to me. The warmth in his voice. The attention. The interest. Now, he was cold, distant, mechanical. The only thing I got from him were updates about volatility and vague stories about how clients were panicking. But I wasn't his client. I was supposed to be his person. Wasn't I? I started to notice other things too. He didn't post on Instagram anymore. He used to tag locations, meals, views. Now, nothing. His Snapchat photo disappeared. His status was blank. He stopped sending pictures of his face, his food, his life. It was like he'd gone invisible. And the silence? It wasn't just digital. It crept into my body, my chest, my bones. I felt like I was going mad. I kept refreshing our chats, rereading old voice notes, listening to them while lying in bed, wondering how we got here. He used to say things like, "I've never felt this seen," or "You're different," "You're rare," or "This is just the beginning." But now, I was lucky to get a thumbs up emoji. My friends started to notice. "Where's your investor boyfriend?" one of them asked. I smiled, shrugged, said, "He's working." But inside, I was aching. I didn't even care about the return. I didn't care about the interest. I just wanted to hear his voice again, the one that made me feel like I was home. But all I got was silence. So here's the thing. Stupid, naive, blinded. I actually thought maybe he was seeing someone else.
Yeah, that was my biggest concern. Not my money, not the silence, not the shifting behavior. No, I thought maybe there was another girl. Because that's what we do, right? We personalize everything. We think it's us, our fault, our flaw, our age, our body, our tone, our timing. And the worst part? I didn't even know where he lived. Like, really think about that. I was dating a man, had given him $50,000, and I had never stepped foot in his house. Not once. And the more I thought about it, the more it didn't make sense. He always came to me, or met me out. He always had an excuse place is a mess. My roommates hosting friends, construction happening next door, blah, blah, blah. But somehow, at the time, none of it raised alarms. Until it did. So, what did I do? I did something I never imagined myself doing. I hired a private investigator. God, even saying that out loud still makes me cringe. It wasn't even to check if he was lying about his identity. Nope. I hired that guy because I wanted to know, is he cheating on me? Like some teenage heartbreak drama? I laugh now. But honestly, it was the most humiliating thing I've ever done. Because deep down, I still hoped the answer would be, yes, he's just seeing someone else. That would have hurt, sure, but it would have been human. Understandable, forgivable. So I paid the guy, gave him the few scraps of info I had, the name, the phone number, some social media, and said, just find out where he lives. If he's got someone else. That's all. And then I waited. A few days later, the investigator called me back. He said, "Can we talk in person?" My stomach dropped. You know that feeling. When you just... No. I met him at this small cafe, sat across from him, shaking, trying to act composed. He opened a folder. And what he said next? It shattered everything I thought I knew. He started with, "Your guy doesn't live where he says he does. Turns out, that fancy condo he always mentioned didn't exist. Not for him, anyway. He was listed as living in his mother's basement, in a small, run-down house in a suburb I'd never even heard of. He didn't finish college, never got a degree. Had lied about that, too. And brace yourself, he had 5 lawsuits against him. Yes, 5. Fraud, debt, 1 case of impersonation, a restraining order from a previous girlfriend. And the cherry on top? His last official job was working at a diner, a freaking diner, flipping burgers. And 2 thought he was a financial wizard. I sat there, frozen, staring at the photos, the documents, the addresses. I wanted to scream, cry, throw up. But all I did was whisper, "Wait, so he's not seeing someone else?" The investigator blinked, confused. He said, "Sorry, what?" And I don't know. I laughed, like a crazy person, because in my twisted, lovesick mind, that was all I had wanted to hear. That there was no other woman, no competition. And now I was staring at a man I thought I knew, and realizing I had no clue who he truly was. That's when it hit me. The money. Oh my God, the money. $50,000. Gone. With a con man. A liar. A complete stranger. I left the cafe shaking. Called him. Straight to voicemail. Texted him. Nothing. Called again. Blocked. Tried his Instagram. Deleted. WhatsApp. Status gone. Photo gone. He was vanishing before my eyes, like he never existed. I panicked. Fully. Spiraled. I called him again and again and again, left voicemails. Begged. Pleaded. Not for the money, not even then, but for answers. For truth. For anything that would make this make sense. But silence. Just silence. And I knew. He knew I knew. And he had already planned his exit. He had already set the fire and was walking away while I stood in the smoke. I collapsed that night. Not dramatically, just emotionally. Internally. I curled up on the kitchen floor and sat there. Because what else do you do when everything you thought was real turns out to be a performance? A story. A setup. A trap. Worse than the money was the shame. You see, I had borrowed $20,000 from my dad. And now, I had to tell him it was gone. That I, the responsible one, the logical one, the one with a medical degree, got scammed. By a man who used words like capital gains while living in his mother's basement. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. I just sat there, on the kitchen floor, still in my work clothes, with the lights off, staring into nothing. I kept replaying the same question in my head, again and again like a broken record. How did I let this happen? How did I, someone so careful, so rational, so grounded, fall for this? And the worst part? I had to tell my dad. I had to call him, look him in the eye, and tell the man who trusted me with $20,000 that I handed it over to someone who doesn't even have a LinkedIn. I waited until Sunday afternoon. I went to their house. I sat at the table, and I told him. He didn't yell. He didn't shame me. He didn't even seem surprised. He just looked at me and said, "You loved him, didn't you?" I broke down. Because yes, I did love him. Or at least, I thought I did. It was fast. Too fast. But it felt real. He made me feel seen. Special. Chosen. And when you've spent your life being the strong one, the reliable one, the one who always has everything under control, being chosen feels like magic. But it was never love. It was manipulation. Strategy. A performance. And I was just the latest audience. After that, I spent weeks in a fog. I went to work. I saw my patients. I smiled through rounds. But inside, I was hollow. Not just because of the money, but because of the shame. You don't know humiliation until you have to explain to people why your boyfriend vanished, why he's not around anymore, Why the Instagram stories stopped. Why the flowers stopped arriving. Everyone thinks you got dumped. No one imagines you got robbed. I didn't tell anyone for months. Not my friends. Not even my therapist at first. It was too much. Too embarrassing. Too humiliating. Because I thought, if I tell this story, it makes me look stupid. But then something shifted. I started doing some research about scams, love fraud, investment romance schemes, and I found out something that shocked me. There are thousands of women like me. Doctors, lawyers, teachers, entrepreneurs, all smart, all successful, all blindsided by someone they trusted. It wasn't about being dumb. It was about being targeted. And something about that realization, it lit a fire in me. I wasn't alone. And maybe if I told my story, some other woman out there would avoid falling into the same trap. So, I started writing. At first, just for myself. Then, I started sharing little bits online. Anonymous posts. Nothing dramatic. Just real. And the messages started coming in. Same thing happened to me. Thank you for sharing. I thought I was the only one. It was healing. And strangely, empowering. Because for the first time, I took control of the narrative. He took my money, but I wasn't going to let him take my voice. I paid back my dad. Slowly. Every month. Even though he told me not to worry. But I needed to. Because this time, I was rebuilding myself, not just my finances. I changed banks. Set up better protections. Read more about investing. Started taking financial literacy courses. And you know what? I got better. Bit by bit. Not all at once, but piece by piece, I came back to myself. Stronger, smarter, sharper. And the funniest thing? One day, months later, I ran into him at a grocery store. Hair longer, looked tired, was with a woman. He didn't recognize me at first. Or maybe he did, and pretended not to. Either way, I didn't say a word. I just looked at him and smiled. Not because I forgave him. Not because I was above it, but because I knew something he didn't. He lost something bigger than money. He lost the chance to be a decent man, to be loved, to be trusted, to build something real. Me? I lost money. Yeah. But I got something far more valuable. I got myself back. And this time, no one's ever taking her away again.